Actually,
Anyway,
are talking to all of us.
Okay,
Just
okay.
ignore
So I
me.
just
yeah,
stopped it.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, thank you so much.
Okay. Oh,
Please
yeah.
introduce yourself, how old you are, what island we're on.
Okay, aloha. I'm Hanalei Colleado. We're on Maui Island. I am 56 years old.
You think of yourself as an activist?
Well, you get two choices: inactive and active. Choose.
Okay. So, describe what you do as an activist and how long have you been doing what you do as an activist?
I think anybody who's spiritual is an activist because you're coming against dark forces that channels through people. So for me, when I work with people, I'm not dealing with people. I'm dealing with the spirit that backing them. So I deal from that plane, and adjustments are made there, and then eventually you see the results in the natural sense because there's a shift that happens, has to happen that way. We are people of spirit first and foremost. So when you're talking about activism, you're talking about politics, and politics without spiritual input or the authority from the realms of spirit makes politics crazy. You can pupuli and get everybody's brains on it and their thoughts on it without heaven's consultation. Not gonna work.
Give us some specific examples, one or two.
So years ago, I was taken into one vision, and I think this is a good foundation to start off with. And in this vision, I walked into this warehouse, had a contingency of people with me. I was walking into a morgue setting. We weren't there to mourn the dead. I knew that. But I looked and I saw blood splattered all against the walls, and I saw bins set up against the walls. I had body parts all cut up, was placed in these bins. And I walked in and I could hear heaven speak to me and says, "Can the bones live?" That was a question. So I don't know. It's a big, big thing you ask, me. That's your job. He says, "Open your mouth, prophesy." Open my mouth, don't know what I said. Don't recall that part, but whatever it was that I said, what I saw happen after I opened my mouth was body parts shot out of the bins, came to the floor, and it was one body. It was still lifeless. Then heaven spoke to me again, told me, "Look up." And I looked up as if you could see winds, and there were like tornadoes scattered all over the heavens. Heaven says, "You see the scattered winds? Open your mouth, prophesy, gather the winds." I did that. Don't know what I said again, but what I saw happen is the winds came together in one funnel cloud over this prostrated body. And the winds went merge into this one body, and what I saw was one army went stand up. Not just one body that came to life, but one army went stand up. And we're talking like 25 years ago plus that this vision came to me. So I've sat on it for a very long time. And in time, I realized the interpretation and realized that it was my activating point. So if I need to use activist, I think it is in reference to my life's assignment, if anything. So I'm coming from a different playing ball field, but it's the same. It's the one that's covering all of this stress and distress unfolding that has always been upon us as a people. And I've been that trump card to speak something different. It's a different vibration that everyone is ma'atu, but for some reason got distracted from. So it's like it's a heavenly vibration of a holy type that our people, it resonates, or at least it throws a wrench in in their agenda on some level on approaching Pilikia. Without spirit, no way you're going to have that backing because we're talking spiritual battles happening through channels, through nations, through authoritative figures on the planet that needs the spirit needs to be taken down. So all of my life's drive is centered around this vision that I shared with you guys. So let me kind of interpret it a little bit further. I came to find out that the bones or the body parts that was cut up was a representation of our people, and the blood splattered on the wall. Blood, the koko need one vehicle to function through. And we have had many activist groups, if you will, sovereignty groups under different names, titles, different approaches, internationally, nationally, locally, whatever. Body parts, our kanakamauli. Many with the koko have attached themselves to the different body parts. So kind of look like we were scattered, but not really. It was for that season of time. So my part was to show up. I actually joined almost every sovereignty group in Hawaii for one purpose. so that I'd have a voice amongst our people to bring that part that I know was lacking. I'm not being judgmental. I mean, you can look at the proof. Show you what I see as an interpretation of spiritual approaches. Every time we have sovereignty meetings, everything gets heated. You know how that goes. Everybody kind of up in arms. They're like scrapper because they get their own opinion. So somebody would stand up amongst them and say, "Hey, everybody, grab hand." Oh, no,
Mm.
that's bullshit. I despise that. It's a religious approach that doesn't work, but it does something to the emotion and psyche to tame the animal, I guess, so we can continue discussions. So that's what I'm talking about. That's a level of spirituality that has no use. It has minimal. But on an international and going free, fulfilling a prophecy level, it has no bearings. So I've joined every group to become a voice to bring this aspect. So to fast track everything in regards to the body parts. I share with you something that had happened at an invitation to Pu'ukohola. Pu'ukohola is where our ancestors, even in today's society, it deals with matters of state. You know, the welfare of our people. Uh, the kaulas would come give heaven's take to the ali'i, so he know how for best take care of our people, and the fruit of it, whether we know that chief is doing well or not, is the condition of our nation. We've been in distress. So anyway, let me reverse a little bit. At one of three events that happens yearly, consecutively, I went there 3 years in a row. And when I went the first time, I and those that were a part of me, we brought 40 of everything. Very impressive when you put in this on the lele, the 3-tier lele. The lesser level, the lower level is for Makai Nana. They divvy that up after the ceremony. Second level, that's for brown nose, the chief. When you put stuff on a third level, that's for the aqua, you know, and we go do ceremony and we say the substance is ours, the essence is yours. So nothing goes to waste. We eat everything at conclusion, yeah. That was first year, very impressive. We brought food, fed everybody, because at that time, and still I am uh, was the kahu of Pu'uhonua o Iao and still am, just not in location now, and that's another story of why. So in approaching that matter, first year, that was cool. Second year, we showed up in ceremony. This time, it was to pose a question to the chiefs. So we came in, and I walked in with a bowl of salt and some parchment, top up pepper that I went right on top there because I needed to ask question, yeah? And you don't talk to the chief directly. You talk to the kakao lelo who talk to the kahuna nui, and then in return, I think the chief is the one can respond thereafter. Spiritual check-in, and then boom, the message can be received. Kind of like the old days that you plug in. Oh, I talk to Auntie. Okay, hang on. You pull that plug, poke me in over here, and you use that as the medium.
Operator.
Yeah, kind of a thing. So my question was, oh, we no more house, we no more land. Everything is in distress. You the chief. We here at this point in time at this AL that takes care of matters of state. What do you have to say to this? And I don't think the brother will understand the question that was asked of him because of his response is the only reason why. And his response was, oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for feeding our people. Never address anything that I had posed in a question. And maybe he never understand Olelo Hawaii. And for me, I had to write them down so I know exactly. I don't get mixed up here what the question asking. But part of my presentation was I had a bowl of salt. I said, oh, by the way, here, this is my makana to you. My ho'okupu to you. This is pa'akai. I went buy them from the store because I don't have access to the beach. Just kind of heightening the awareness of the lack of our people's ability to be free in our own land, which falls on the chief, which falls on this AL, right? And because he couldn't answer, I went like this. And I walked out of the ceremony. It stalled the ceremony a little bit, but it picked up again, of course, and the ceremony began. The third year came. Oh, by the way, I also had a gourd with me. And I would pose the question that says, I know you're supposed to consult heaven. I'm here. I get the answer. Ask me the question. 1 year passed. No question was asked of me. I had what I had then to give as a means of bringing our nation into being and healing our nation and our people. But nobody asked the question. So my mind's eye on them not asking a question was this: oh, you think you get them? You don't need heaven. See, that's what I mean. Yeah. Oh, you don't need heaven's consultation on this. Okay, you can run. Go ahead. I'm out. Third year came about. Because one whole year went past, nobody even asked a question. This time I was instructed, and I didn't know what was to unfold. But what unfolded was I had a stick. My friend would go kawo and kawila stick attached to an coconut basket that my friend would weave. I had it lined with pili grass. I had a broken coconut inside there, and I had one gourd that went grow in my yard. I took off all the leaves, so like on rope, one kaula. I had them coming up, and the root was sticking above my head. I had them bandana, of course, malo, everything ceremony. Yeah. And that third year when we walked in, it was like carrying pig on a pole. It was acting like 1,000 pounds. It was role playing at this part. At this point, didn't know what was gonna unfold. Then we carried it in. We made like it was heavy. We put it down. We cut it open, and I picked it up by myself. And I continued walking towards the cacao or lelo. Was closer to the lele than I was. And I was walking and I was screaming like I was carrying my dead baby. That was the aura that I had around me. I was carrying. I was and I was walking like that. And it was real at this point. It was like I know I was faking anymore. I know I was role playing. I went into boom that mode right there. It was heaven's expression that needed to be felt by all that was there, and also it was crowded, by the way. All our kupuna that went crossover, they was there watching the whole thing, and it was like more than chicken skin moment for me. Don't know what kind of impact there. Nobody was there as far as I was concerned. This was a spiritual thing that was being arrested live and in color. And really, I don't know if everybody was on that page, and I highly doubt most of them were. And I only say that because in years to come, many came. I bumped into a lot of people that I don't even know their name or their face because I never see them, like I said. But they would come to me and they would say, wow, a person can go through a lifetime and not experience what I've experienced when that happened. And no kudos on me. It's just my part. Yeah, my body, the part of the body that I play. So I'm walking in, I'm screaming at the top of my head. I fall on my knees and I take that kaula that was in this basket I was holding. Nobody knew what was inside. And I put it down on the ground and I took a stone upon another stone that was on the ground and the cord was going over and I just keep screaming, oh, and I keep slamming, boom. I was trying to cut it from me and separate it. The guys that was with me, I told them, I said, when I'm through, I don't know what's going to happen, but all the implements that I've used, pick it up, it's holy. And bring them, say nothing to nobody, leave the ceremony. So I'm coming in, I'm dropping in there, I'm on my knees, I'm screaming, going crazy. I know when kind of like stunned the crowd because nobody expected that, neither did I. Then I picked it up and I was walking like, and I'm still screaming, and I came like this. Guys came down because they needed to take them to the chief, what I was bringing to them, right? So they come and they would make their footing. Well, actually, I threw it. And I ran out of the ceremony all the way down to Spencer Park. I was like a crazy man. The guys that was left that I instructed just pick up the implements because, that's okay. The guys that I instructed just pick up the implements and leave the ceremony. They got stuck in the ceremony because the question was posed, what is this? What mean ye this, right? And they said, oh, I don't know, open them. So they did. I'm telling you secondhand story now. I wasn't there. They cut them open. They did their gestures, whatever, and that was that. So eventually, my guys came down. They went cleansed in the ocean, and we all flew home. Not too long after that, an earthquake hit the Big Island and destroyed the entire front entry of Ukuhola. Sam Kaai at that time came to see me, and he says, "I gotta go to a meeting on the Big Island with the chiefs." Basically, he was asking me what happened, and I told him what happened and what was done. He says, he asked my permission to sing that song that I made clear to him. So whatever happened in that meeting with the chiefs on the Big Island regarding the question, how come this wouldn't happen? What the reason for this whole island now? Sam declared it because he came to tell me after he came back. He says, I told them, a prophet came here to challenge this altar. The altar could not perform. Heaven has shut the doors to the temple. That was his statement, not mine. So, back to the vision. That's body part stuff. That's Kanaka stuff. I was on television and radio, and let me tell you how I got there. Never had money. Like I said, everything has a testimony. Yeah. So I've been involved with many groups over the years and whatnot, and pulled out and whatever. But there was a meeting in I forget what it was Makua Valley or something. I forget what it was. White night someplace at the beach, and all of the activist guys will show up. The who's who showed up. I was invited to that, and I show up, and they was going around the circle about how we can do this, better. And what we already know the history, but where do we go from here? How can the body parts work together, the different groups, and you know how that goes. Everybody like throw blows halfway in the meeting, and then we gotta sing Ho'onani again. And how many times we gonna sing Ho'onani to tame the beast, right? So we can continue talking. But in one of the circles, I rose my hand and I went share about this, the winds, the bones, the morgue said I shared that. And then was like, oh, thank you for sharing kind of a moment. And the mic was passed to the next. Never had mic, but the next person went talk. Was Skippy, he says, I don't know about nothing about this, but I don't represent our people. On my island, we get how many kings, queens, and assorted accessories, the way he put it. I like the way the brother talk. He's so cool. But he talked like that. And then I got pricked in my heart because I went share something of spirit nature. Brother, when come up with the dilemma, he says, I had to go collect cans just for come here. Nobody get money, come together, and I get all these guys on my island. Right there when he was speaking that, I raised my hand and I said, how many kings, queens, and assorted accessory get on your island? All you guys' island. Give me names. Pu'uhonua will pay for the trips, the airline tickets for all our guys that you feel are leaders to come to the table. So on November 28th, I forget what year it was because the year's just kind of flying by like nobody's business. We flew everybody in and funded it. So I'm hosting this talk story time, and by the end of the talk story time, I thought I would miss God on this one because nothing will happen. It was more on beef and on free trip to me, in my interpretation, that was seized upon and not for the cause of our nation, of which I invested monies that I never had when I would open my big mouth in the circle. So you see how I kind of put myself, I said, we will fund it, and I myself went scrape just to come to that meeting over there. But when I made the kahea and I came home, the monies came in and we purchased those tickets. We did the meet. Everything went flatline. I was discouraged and I said, no, I cannot be discouraged. Heaven and order this one. Even though it never come out the way I thought, I don't know what the purpose, but I do know I was obedient to what was required of me at that space and time. So I scheduled the next meeting. By the time we went to the next meeting, everything went kind of, guys went fall off the train, so to speak. And then you had a core group. And I was facilitating. We met at the storage place at the airport on Nimitz. And we're having this meeting, and at the end of the meeting, I said, you know what, guys? When this meeting pow, I know everybody get their own spiritual walk, whatever their take on, I have nothing against nothing and nobody. However, I know whatever you're eating is not feeding you to the place where it's going to move our nation's agenda forward to put us front and center again. So what I'm going to do after this, I'm going to buy airtime. I go straight down to the TV station. And I did. I had only enough for probably do about 1 hour, hour and a half, half-hour segments, yeah. But we were on the air for almost just about 2 years. The money just keep coming in. And so we stayed on the air. So I keep feeding. And the statement I made to everybody was, I know you guys feeding spiritually on your own terms, on whatever, but I know I have something that's going to feed you where the food need to go on a spirit plane. And so you don't need to be threatened. I'm going on TV, so you can turn on your TV, turn off your TV. I don't know if you're watching. I really care that you do watch because we're going to spend money now to keep you under the cover so you can hear what I got to say. Because I know what I got to say is going to feed directly into the mission that you've been called to. So whether they follow through or not, I don't know. But I went on air. And Tukiakwa says, get off the power radio. Get off the radio. I even went as far, I was instructed to commission the ministry that I was pastoring. In fact, I called for the last ceremony, last service. And at this service, the who's who came out. Those that churches get splits always for one reason or another. But when I had my last service, it was like I died because the word went out through the community and I choked, guys, up at Kepaniwai, all over the grass to hear the, kind of like one goodbye kind of affair. Somebody will bring on wreath too. How's that one? And I never even said this was on funeral or nothing like that, right? But in all honesty, I prepared myself to pass. before that last service because when heaven told me put Isaac on the altar. If you know the story of Isaac, Isaac was a promised child to Abraham. And yet God told Abraham, tie your boy up, put him on the altar, stick a knife through him. And Abraham, as he was walking with his boy and the guy had all of the wood on his back, and they went to the place they were supposed to go, the son went and asked the father, Dad, wow, we get the firewood, we get everything for make the altar, where the sacrifice? And Abraham said to his son, God, my son, God will provide himself a sacrifice. Wow, that's some heavy duty words right there if you understand what was just said. There was no sacrifice, but the man was tested because the promise was in his boy. God will promise Abraham that the promise of your nation coming free and the wealth and health of your people could happen through your son. But when God telling him now go put a knife through your boy, it takes a lot of faith to trust that by doing so that God still going to make good on his word through the promised child, even after you stick a knife inside. So brother went go for stick the knife, and then one voice came from heaven, ho, ho, now I know. And then he looked to the side, he see one ram. See, that was the one that was to take the place, a proxy. Never had to be the boy. And this was only a shadow of what was to come in Christ later on. So I say that story to say that I was instructed to put Isaac on the altar. And by that time, I made a name for myself in the community. Could be my kingdom, right? Could be for my name's sake and not his name's sake kind of a thing. So I was tested in that. And I decided to put everything on the altar. I actually interpreted what he said to me was that I failed. I screwed up someplace and I created collateral damage. That's how I perceived it. So I prepared my heart and my family for my passing. Everything was real to me. The night before my final service, I realized that's not what Kyakuo was requiring of me. What he was saying was that, is this my ministry and my assignment assigned to you, or I've been replaced and now this is yours and you're going to direct it? That was the challenge. For me, it was easy because I know I'm not going to do without him. But everybody else thought differently. So it was like on funeral. Who came? Even the guys I never see long time, they came. And it was awesome. At the end of the service, I took the ordination papers of all of my ministers, the whole thing, yeah. And I went light them on fire, and I says, this ministry has no more leadership. You guys have come for the wrong reasons, and I threw it up in the air. And piss off my leadership because how dare you? You know, that kind of a take, yeah. But I don't care, because if I'm put in check, everybody gonna be put in check too, not just me. You know, every heart gonna be sifted. And so that's what happened. I came off of TV, came off of radio. I told everybody, go find where you belong, go find your place. Some come because they like the way I minister, the way I talk and stuff like that, all for the wrong reasons. Nobody should go to anybody because you like how they perform. This is not on performance. This is about raising spiritual children so that they can mature and reproduce themselves. But when you're immature, you got to sit under somebody mature. They're not going to lord over you, but they're going to father you. See, even the scripture tell that, yeah, get plenty teachers among us, but not too much fathers. Different take here when you're raising children. Yeah? The father get on closer touch than something else. Yeah. So anyway, I shut down the ministry, commissioned the house, and then many moons in past, Kyoko told me, open up again. Open up the buffet line. And I put the car here out. We're going to open up again. By then, the win out process would happen. Only had a handful that would actually come back. And it was with that handful, core people, Kyoko, when I allowed them to be my strength to fill in the gaps where I lacked, to bring me to a certain point. But even in that, I personally became dependent upon those instead of dependent on the Creator. See, I never plug into the direct line and then have that call transferred. I would go plug in this way and unplugged here, and that was my demise. That was my that was to the hurt of my family. And I realized that, and see, anytime you set something in motion, payday coming. And I've received my payday. I've gone through 5 years of darkness in my life. Even put a gun to my head, thinking all hope was, gone. And I failed. I just revisiting time, so no mind my emotion, but it's real to me as well. So I still paying for that lack on the family end of stuff. But I stand on a word, and this is all word, all word. The scripture says all things work together. All things work together for good to those who love God, to those that have been called according to purpose. So even in our screw up, there's always a reset. There's always a healing process, and we start where we left off, kind of a thing. And that same rhythm and aggression happens again, and that's what's happening now. I'm out of my 5 year challenge, and I realized that 5 years of darkness really was everything that I've ever spoken, whether TV, radio, individual, from the pulpit, wherever. I was being challenged by the very word that I spit out. I was, and that's how it's supposed to happen. You, the one who produced it, that doesn't eliminate you from the equation just because you're the messenger. It actually comes back for you. Boom, you try it first, then everybody else. You know, and that has been my time. So now, fast forward. That's the bone side of it. What about the winds, the scattered winds? Well, we know Hawaii story, right? The gospel came to Hawaii. We were given the Bible. Our lands was taken. We left with on sour taste in our mouth. Anything that got to do with Christianity, sour mouth, sour taste. I get it. I get it. But my place had to do with all the different movements that have come through these islands. The spiritual side, the church guys, the guys who in Aihuia land, their ancestors gone, but their descendants are here. And while the rape was taking place back in the day, these guys who brought us the Bible held their peace, and that's the pain that we all carry on some level. So I have challenged that to those that are of faith and saying to them, guys, that no think you're going to get away with this one. Now your time for reconcile your ancestors' actions. If that doesn't happen, judgment will fall upon your nation, per the words of our queen, who said, I've traversed your land, I've seen everything. How come you desire a little vineyard of Naboths when you get choked land? The same God you bring to us is the same one going to lick you. Perhaps not in your days, but in the days of your children. So I have been that echoing part, being that grace card that would say, did you guys hear her? She was only queen. She was prophet queen. She produced a word that is now, I have been given the Colleado to echo her words. It's a grace card. Come on, you guys, make good the wrong, make good the wrong. But I agitated things to the point where I was written off as a false prophet amongst church, religious sectors. I was being the one that was, in fact, you can look at one of the things up here on the wall. See me, Bullhead, younger me. But that's when we took over EL Valley and we were taking care of the area. And Maui News wrote up something about it. And they said, I worship hands in dirt. And I began to address the gods and all that kind of stuff. And it was misinterpreted by my own fellow comrades in the believing body parts. Yeah, pastors. And they were warning their congregation, watch out for that wannabe up in the valley. That's another story. I'm not going to get sidetracked by that. But my point being is this. I've suffered under that kind of stuff, but it comes with the territory. You got to count the cost because it comes with the territory, right? Don't just easily drop out of a race. It should make you more tougher. See, here's the thing. You can be right, but if your spirit is wrong, you're wrong altogether. So you got to take one adjustment in your spirit. And when you're right before God, heaven and earth, then what you produce, you feel the aloha while you're getting licked from the one who's producing the word. You see what I mean? That's different. Right? Like when your parents are, I lick you because I love you. Well, then let me lick you then, right? But that's the joke end of stuff. That's the joke end of it. But the reality of it is that when we're talking about what was given by vision as a purpose, my activation card to what I was called to do, that's a whole different ballgame right there. It gets very intense and aggressive. I've gone international. I've gone under the radar. I've visited nations. Gotten many invitations to go different places around the world. I've never accepted it unless my na'au told me. Kiakua would settle me my na'au, answer that call, and I would show up. And by doing so, I don't know who's going to pick me up at the airport when I land. It's like that. But when I show up, the ride show up, and the assignment is made clear. I'm in there, and I realize that these guys like me. I've been to, case in point, Africa, where you got like 5 villages that walk for days to come hear this guy from the US. They're thinking, yeah, money, all of that kind. Because these kind of guys in their villages, they get one TV and you get hundreds of guys staring at their one TV or radio. Poverty. No more kana, it's not like what we can imagine what poverty is. These guys are for real kind in poverty, but they're wealthy in food wise. So even like you watch TV, oh, give money for this because this guy's starving. That may be true for some places, but I visited these places. I've been there. These
Where
guys
was it?
live like they're poverty, but they're wealthy in the food. The land is producing, and they're making it produce.
Which country was that?
Africa,
Which country?
Uganda, Ghana,
Uganda.
yeah, and stuff like that. So I'm not saying it's not happening. It's just that I've seen the places that I've been being shown on television that this is that and whatever, and yeah. Anyway, all of that stuff. Um,
Okay, because we got to get back to like
Okay.
the question. When you look back, yeah, what do you think what has been the impact of your activism on the communities that you care about, the issues you care about?
I think the things that I care about is what heaven care about, is what the people have needs, basic needs, nothing elaborate, just the basic stuff, and they can have access to it. That should pain every heart when you gotta scrounge for one meal, or when you gotta take the handout and the handout not enough to fuel a belly. That is the simplest form that I can give. And not having not the ability, and I think this is heaven's doing when you can make something happen. Then sometimes you can cut heaven's hands off when it's not supposed to be that way for certain people. They have to go through certain things. I don't call that. It just pains me to have to watch that movie. And sometimes when I'm cutting heaven's hands off by what do you call it? Kind of taking over. If the slap was coming for that person, and I like come help, I'm gonna get the slap instead of the person. He learns nothing, and I go back a few notches, so to speak, and then I learn how to be more clear before I activate.
How's your health?
Cherry, no.
How has your
I had cancer
Political
before. I
activism.
was bleeding before. I diabetes and all that kind of stuff. If I had to go back doctor and gauge it and let them interpret to me, I don't believe what they have to say, because the whole system has lied to our people, giving us medicine that no heal. It deals with symptoms and not the main cause of it. And all of this topic is being exposed even right now, from the pharmaceuticals to the food inputs to nanotechnology that they put within the food. So like even me as a farmer, I like feed my pig slop because easier and cost less. But I don't trust the technology because of the GMO and the nanotechnology in the food that I'm gonna cook for my pig. They're gonna kill them. That's killing us. So there are natural medicines right now, and everything. The darkness is being exposed, and people are becoming aware and taking those reset measures to get their health back. And on top of that, MedBeds is on its way. MedBeds is a technology that deals with vibration. You know, that's why you can, like an opera singer can sing on certain watts, you hit the same vibration as the glass breaks. It's the same technology that has been always available, just not to us. That was only for the elite. So hospitals will become a thing of the past, and it will become health centers, and med beds is going to be made free for everybody on this planet. That's what's coming. That's part of the 1,000-year reign of peace and prosperity on this planet, from financial to everything. And as you guys know, the topic of straw man and stuff like that, corporation, the corpse, when you die, you want corpse, and basically they exchange you on the stock exchange. You're a commodity. But all of that money that they made off of you while you can get educated and up your value so you can be traded further and further, and all of that money thing, everything's money driven. All of that gonna come back to us. It was like it was banking, if you will. They meant it for evil. God gonna turn them for good, and it'll come right back into our hands. This is part of that reset.
Your active work has been good then for your health, your well-being.
I've been pupuli for the most part, but and that pupuliness has served me well on the health end of it, because I don't live for myself, and really I do the best that I can, and like all of us, we do what we can, we eat what we get, even though they say, oh, that won't cause cholesterol. Well, I'm a firm believer, because my parents brought me this way, is that you bless your food, even if that's poison, don't worry, like Kyakuo gonna change the dynamics, gonna be good for you. But how many of people pray over their food now? For me, I don't demonstrate that in front of everybody because I live that. I mean, when do you make a time for prayer? Do you decide when you're going to take your next breath? It's natural. Prayer is the same thing for me. It's a daily thing, it's a every moment thing. So I don't have to come into a space or wait for a time to become spiritual. It's not a hat you put on and you take off. You stay dressed, you sleep with it, you wake up with it, you live in it. You take adjustments when you need it because we all get contaminated. Gotta wash our clothes, wash our body, same thing. That doesn't make us less spiritual. You just clean your shit up and get back in line and keep pumping away, man.
How you feel when you're working with other political activists?
How do I feel when I work with other political
Because
activists?
you do public planning.
I don't think I work on feelings. I don't base my relationships on feelings. I see an individual, no matter what state they're in, I see them what they're supposed to be. And I feed that level, even though they're not prepared to receive it on this level. So I can get opposition, but it comes with the territory. There needs to be a lifeline shown because eventually they're distracted in their own thing, you know. But if I can come ahead and throw the line, eventually they're gonna find themselves drowning, and their memory of that touch, whenever that happened, will come back to them, and they're gonna grab that lifeline, and it'll become beneficial then.
Is there any political event or activity that you're especially proud of engaging in?
Everything, because it's brought every movement of the past has brought it to where it's at now. Do we continue in the same rhythm? I don't believe so, because it's like a woman. She gets impregnated. She goes through passing time. When it comes to that appointed time, almost each day you go through pains. I'm not one woman, but I born 3 kids. My wife did. I got to observe that. You watch all of that pains, that travail, and then once you give birth, forget the pain. You know? So that's kind of like my portion in that. I stayed, of course, in that. I don't know if I answered. Ask me that question one more time. I went off track in my
Is
brain.
there a political event or activity that you're especially proud of engaging?
I'm not proud of nothing. I'm engaged in everything. No more time to be proud. It's just stay active, keep everybody moving, feed them faith, cancel out the doubts. Any talk of doubt, any talk of negativity, cancel that out, slap them out of their hands at every cost, and keep everything on a positive note. Otherwise, it's a mixture. Nothing will move. It's kind of like having one car, 4 tires, burning rubber in different directions. Plenty noise, plenty smoke, no movement.
Has engaging in any political event or activity caused you anger or stress?
Very much so, but on a spirit plane. Like earlier part, I read to you guys some of my texts that I sent out to those that I'm connected with. And my portion is to keep that spiritual nature on course. That's my part. Everybody else deal with the political and whatever, but my part is to keep all spirits and hearts on track spiritually, because that's where it all begins. Should there be any deviation, we're burning rubbers, all tires going different directions, nothing will happen.
How does political activism impact your overall well-being?
I'm gonna say this, but it's not necessarily true in its totality. But I don't live for myself. I don't live for my own comforts. I've learned a long time ago that when I start to deviate and worry like everybody else does for the not natural things that every family should be, you know, house, food, all that kind of stuff like that. Once I do that and I just give myself to that, the fluidity of heaven on an international global scale ceases. I cannot afford to let that happen. I've learned that lesson. So I don't worry about the comforts of my own home, my own family, and yet heaven honors that, and it still comes. It shows up almost disguised. You know, people come and they look, they say, "Oh wow, you broke ass, I got a big man shit. You how do you know?" It's like that, just by the optics. You know, but I know better. But the abuse that I feel on the natural place as a man is like, wow, I'm seen as lesser. And then when my kids, when they were younger, they were asked, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm a teacher." You know, some say I'm a teacher. I'm doing all high profile stuff. And then when they hear my kids say, "Oh, I farm with my dad," oh, you know, it's like that's the broke ass understanding mentality. Like, "Oh, poor thing, you poor hole, nothing. Your father, yeah, your father's fault." And that thing has fallen on my children, and they've also come against me in times past. But they're older now. The eyes open. Maturity helps. Yeah.
Anything else you might want to share with us?
Yeah, but you know more time.
That's the last question. Anything else you want to share?
That's gonna take the rest of the day, so I'll just stick with the plan.
You can summarize, Emily. Did I miss something?
No, I mean I'm curious what whatever else you want to share, but if it's gonna take all day, it's okay. But anything else you want to share in the next 5-10 minutes?
Yeah, the body parts and the winds have merged, and army is being risen. Now we need instructions. What do we do with this army? What are we pursuing? Why is this army in existence? So I'm actively in my own way, in my own lane, trying to focus the army to what the assignment is, why you were brought to life, why you went free in your spirit. It's kind of like Moses, yeah. He had to be the messenger to go see Pharaoh and give him one message. God said to him, Moses, go tell Pharaoh, let my people go. Oh, everybody like freedom. We all like have our own nation, yeah. But is there a reason for the freedom? So I go back to Moses' story. The other half of the story was Moses, tell Pharaoh, let my people go that they may serve me, worship me. That was the whole intent of the freedom. So that we're not talking religious as you would think. We're talking about heaven housed within us, enthroned within us. Us and our challenge is to relinquish rights to rule on our own terms and let heaven rule through us. Because no miracle gonna fall out of the sky. If you're not the miracle happening, there ain't nothing happening. I don't give a shit how spiritual you think you are and you can make it. Yeah, that's the simple and short answer.
Is there kind of like, I'm not sure if I'm hearing it as like a recommendation.
Ask the question one more time, and I'll shoot them from a different angle.
I'm asking if this
Say
is
the question again.
If this is like if you have a recommendation for the people, like when you think about like health and wellness in the broad sense of the community, like all the stories that you're talking about.
Yeah, come back to spirit.
Does this connect? Does this?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm
Come back
asking.
to spirit, because we've got distracted with our ailments, our shortcomings, our lacks, and our abundances. They're all distractions. If we're not centered spiritually, you're wasting time. And you're actually an accomplice to locking us down, locking the rest of this world down into another 1,000 years. You're responsible. Feel that freaking weight right there. If you don't feel that weight, you're already dead. You know, so my part is to speak life to you. That's my part. The winds and the bones. Love comes through a rebuke as well, and you should be able to feel that, because Aloha has a way of doing that. Bring in a rebuke and you'll feel the love. After you get agitated because you was, checkmated. After you get over yourself, your sick self, then you're gonna realize, damn, he was right after all. And that's okay. I gotta deal with the interim from the time the word is brought forward to the time it's actually accepted, because it's all hate from that point on. Me word. And I'm okay with that. So I gotta deal with my own self and say, wait a minute, don't take it personal. I living with on purpose. Remind yourself of that purpose, Hanalei. Stay the course. And stay in love, because if Aloha is not in there, it's not God. It's just works. It's just wishful thinking. It ain't gonna happen through you if Aloha is not in that equation. Aloha ke aloha is face to face with the Creator. And if you're not breathing His breath and exhaling that to those around you, then you're giving death to everybody instead of life. I don't like to be accountable to that. I don't think any of us want to be accountable to that. Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful place to end this part.
Thank you. Eola, kalahui o Hawaii.
I'm going to ask you, why do you think we're here?
What you mean, you guys?
Yeah, why are we here? I think we know, well, we kind of know what we're supposed to be doing. Why are we here?
The short answer is that we were all once connected. We were all spirit, housed within a physical body, but spirit nonetheless. We fell from that place. Now we're all soulish and physical. We profess spirituality, but we're more on the other side. So the scales are like this, I and we are here to find not balance, but to tip the scales back again. So what the enemy meant to distract us, to throw us, and to take us away from where we belonged and originated from, our part is to bring it back. You guys coming to see me like this, I hope that has served a purpose as well to tipping the scales in your own hearts. Because if no happen amongst us as individuals, not going to happen on a nation level because we make up the nation and we impact and affect our nation. But if we stay on the same thought pattern and feel of uh, getting the short end of the stick, and we just camp on there and magnify that part, that serves no purpose. We know that well already. Why we going over it again and again and again? Hopefully, it'll drive us. Not gonna drive us. Gonna make us more pissed off, make us our spirit more polluted and useless. We become as an individual useless. So that's the reason why we're here is to return back to that spirit standard again. Right now, it may be here, maybe coming here, maybe here, but it has to go full. Then we're gonna see 1,000 years of peace, prosperity. I don't know what drives you guys. That drives me big time. I don't like my kids have to go through what us went through for our whole life and our parents and grandparents. It's the same freaking fight against the same darkness, just different faces. Who gonna deal with the darkness on the spirit plane? See, if you don't deal with that, then that spirit just channels to the next generation to keep us oppressed. Somebody gotta address them there. That's my portion. And I know I'm not the only one, but I cannot talk for nobody else. I don't know who else is doing that. I'm too damn busy to even inquire. In fact, we can salute each other on the fly once I recognize who that person is in spirit without even talking. Because you can tell. Those that are spirit can recognize another person that has the similar or same assignment, or another body part that don't have that assignment but still part of the body part. They're not connected to the head. See, from connection to the head as individual body parts, now we can work together here. But to think that we can work together here and not be plugged into the head, you stupid, you crazy. Not gonna happen.
Thank you.